into if it was about us personally.
All right, yeah. So I'm gonna bring this out then. This is Proverbs 29:18. I'm gonna read it in the NLT, and it reads, "When people do not accept divine guidance, they run wild. But whoever obeys the law is joyful." Because even in the world, we have tribulation, but we fighting for the bigger picture. And that's why I love watching Saving Private Ryan, because it shows you that no matter what he was going through, he was always fighting for that bigger picture. And that's ultimately what we're fighting for through the Spirit of Yahweh Shema Shah, that bigger picture. To see how it shall reign in glory, man, on the earth.
And that's what makes you fight harder, when you have something to fight for. You know, when you have something to fight for, that makes you fight harder. That's why the Lord gave us the body. That's why the Lord gave us certain trials, certain tribulations in our personal life, because it makes us fight harder. The Lord gave you a family because when you look at your family, you're like, damn, they need it.
Yeah.
So it make you fight harder. The Lord give you a woman or a child, you look at them like, man, they need it. It make you fight harder. Like the brother said, if it was just us, we'll probably fight, but it wouldn't be fervently. It wouldn't be fervently, but when you think about the whole nation, when you think about Yahweh Shah, when you think about your loved ones, that makes you fight even that much more harder. Because you understand that we all need this. This bigger picture is for us all, so that we all can dwell peaceably, man. Because right now, you know, the consensus around the body is that brothers and sisters are tired, man. They tired. And the Lord knows that. And that's why the Lord is bringing all this to a full edge. He's bringing the picture to the forefront, the big picture to the forefront.
I got one.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Philippians chapter 1 and verse 23. You know, I'll start at 21. "For to me to live is Hamashiach, and to die is gain. But if I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor. Yet what shall I choose? I wot not, for I am in the strait betwixt two, having a desire to depart and to be with Hamashiach, which is far better. Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is more needful for you."
Right. And that's a part of the bigger picture. Because this is Apostle Paul. He's having a dilemma, like the dilemma that we all faced at one point in time when we came into the street. You know, you wanna depart, you wanna go back. It's like, damn, I'd rather be in the spiritual world and have to deal with all this. But the flip side to that is the Lord gave us His calling for a reason, so that we might press toward that mark, because it's needful for us to be here. Because there's still those of the Lord's flock still here that still need guidance, that still need the light to shine upon them, man. So our work is still needful. Like the scriptures say, the labor is plenteous, but the laborers are few. The harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. It's like water. And that's why it's needful for us to be here.
I got another one. So it's Philippians 1 and 21 in the NLT. It says, "For to me, living means living for Hamashiach, and dying is even better. But if I live, I can do more fruitful work for Hamashiach. So I really don't know which is better. I'm torn between two desires. A long to go and be with Hamashiach, which would be far better for me. But for your sakes, it is better that I continue to live."
And that's like we was just saying. The Apostle Paul understood that it was bigger than just him. Ultimately, it was for our whole nation. And that's why it was needful for him to be there instead of for him to depart and be with the Lord. He understood that it was bigger than him. It was bigger than the Apostle Paul. It was about the whole nation in general. It was about Yahweh Shai's dominion.
And Esau do this all the time. You got Esau who on black ops missions, they corpse in Afghanistan and Syria. You never heard of their names, you don't know their names. They're a star of some monument in Washington.
Yep.
But they was willing to fold and die for Babylon the Great. How much more the elect for the kingdom of heaven? When Ezra said he greatly commended He knew what he understood. He understood the journey that those men had went through at that point in time. That's what we're fighting for. And that's why it hurt. It's supposed to hurt. On this side, it's supposed to hurt. Otherwise, there's no bravery if there's no fear. There's no gain if there's no feeling of loss. There's no sacrifice if there's no feeling of loss.
Yep.
So we got to go through that part of it. We have to feel that in the flesh and keep pushing.
And that's what's going to make that victory even that much sweeter. You know, understanding because the elect are going to understand the trial that it took to get to that point. You know, the elect are going to have that common understanding with Yahweh Shai on what it took to get to that point. The woes, the mental afflictions, the physical afflictions, the spiritual afflictions. They're going to know what it took to get there, man. And that's what's going to make that victory even that much more sweeter. That's what's going to make when the Lord starts to move on a large scale with this MOTB, when he starts to move with Jacob's trouble, that's going to make, when the Lord sends off those ICBM nuclear missiles, when the Lord starts delivering his elect, that's what's going to make that a victory that much more sweeter for the elect. Because it's going to be that understanding behind it that, man, it was a trial to get to this point. And now that we're here, we appreciate it. Because we didn't appreciate it in the beginning, in the garden. We didn't appreciate what the Lord had for us. It took all this, and it's going to take even much more than this for us to appreciate it. But nevertheless, it's going to be appreciated, man. And it's going to be understood what it took to get to that point of the commonwealth of the nation of Israel, of Yahweh Shai's dominion.
Yeah, I got one. Because, hey, brothers was talking about Lord, we don't know about that number, man. We're not doing this just for ourselves, but hey, there's other people that are riding, they're leaning upon the elect, because, this one thing about being in this truth, man, you definitely got to be unselfish, and what reminds me, an example I like to meditate upon, I'm read this here in Job chapter 1, starting at 4. It says, and his sons went and feasted in their houses, everyone on his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed the Most High in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. So basically Job, he offered up, and remembering that, back then, because, now people, they, eat meat, like that's a casual thing in this society. But back then, that wasn't so casual, offering up meat offerings and things of that nature. It wasn't so casual back then like how it was now. Because the scriptures do talk about how, you gotta, if a man loves his beast, you're supposed to, because, back then, they would already have the animal sacrifice ready, because they knew they were about to sin and whatnot, but, Jake was wicked and whatnot. But with all that being said, Job, on behalf of his children, just in case they sinned, all right, he offered up a burnt offering on their behalf, just in case they went off, because that's an example of the unselfishness. He wasn't just worried about himself. He wasn't focused on himself, but on behalf of his children, just in case they went off.
I got one for you. Going into that unselfishness. This is Matthew 19, verse 27. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee.
Right.
What shall we have therefore?
Right.
And Yahweh Shai said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone that hath forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive an hundredfold, and shall inherit everlasting life. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. And that's the epitome of unselfishness. Forsaking the things that you might have, could have did, for the greater purpose, for the greater purpose of our nation.
So I gotta preach that real quick. This is Ecclesiastes 25:7. And it says, there be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy. And the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children. Because ultimately, 2/3 are the children of the elect. And the elect men are fighting for themselves, Yahweh Shai, but 2/3. Whether 2/3 are aware of that or not, they're going to come through the kingdom, through the elect, through those men. And they're going to be covered because they are the children of the elect.
Right.
And a man has joy in his children. The woman is his glory, and then the children that he has. That's a joy to see your progeny live and succeed with assurance of life. And that goes back into that bigger picture. We're fighting for something.
That's his life, man.
Like if it was about this life, Jake would have been in the spirit world. Jake would have been lit a candle and got the Lord to extinguish it. Just to get up out of here.
Yeah.
But the Lord was like, nah, you gotta fight for something greater. That's what we fight for ultimately.
Yeah.
And it's cold because you got Edomites. The Lord said that they are the basis of men. But they willing to lay their life down for 2 kids in the suburbs of Florida or wherever they stay at, just to go fight a war in another country about oil or whatever the case may be, just to keep this shit going on. We fight for something greater, man. And that's why it's the ultimate shame on the 2/3 of our people, because they had the opportunity to fight for something greater and they refused. But ultimately, it wasn't meant for them. They are the children of the elect.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, you got it.
I just got another one to lay back up that Matthew, because again, we're going to forsake a lot of things on the side, and that includes for some brothers, women, and children. But don't worry about it, because hey, we're going to get them back. So since we're in Job, I'll get this real quick. In Job 42 and 12, it says, "So the Lord blessed the latter end of Job,"
Right.
and Job represents the elect.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It says, "So the Lord blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning. For he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels and 1,000 yoke of oxen and 1,000 she asses." Verse 13 is the point. He said, "And he had also 7 sons and 3 daughters." Slakia. As he mentioned, because the point that I want to get was basically the sons and daughters that Job had, he got them back to the 3rd and 4th generation.
Hey, and that's that.
Okay.
You got it.
Yes, Salakia, verse 16 is the point. It says, "And after this lived Job 140 years, and saw his sons and his sons' sons, even 4 generations." So again, go back to the point how whatever we lose, including wives, children, whatever, family members, loved ones, we're going to see him again. It's easier said than done because we love our people, but we're going to see him again. We're going to get him back. Just like Job, all right, the sons and daughters that he lost in the beginning, he got them back. He got to see him again.
And that was through his integrity, man. His integrity held him upright. The faith that he had in Yahweh Bashim Shai held him upright. And although all those things were stripped from him, his luxuries, his children, his wealth, his resources, although all that, his loved ones, although all that was stripped from him, he still kept the faith. He didn't sin concerning his speech. He didn't sin concerning his manner of conduct. He kept the faith, and he understood the bigger picture, that the Lord will bring it all back. Just as sure as he took it, he'll bring it back. And we're learning that lesson, on a smaller scale, so to speak, in our daily lives. As things are taken away, the Lord brings back something that's way more beneficial for your walk.
Hey, that goes into being sons of God. How important is your integrity?
Very.
Is it more valuable than family? Is it more valuable than what you could achieve in this lifetime? Is it more valuable than your fear of death? How valuable is your allegiance to the Father as sons of God? And that's a lesson that every brother, it's deeper than rap.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's where we at right now. It's like a personal, and the Lord do that personally with every son. Like, how much you love me? Yeah, Lord, I ain't tripping off this. Or you're not tripping off that? Let me give you something you tripping off. Because how much is my love important? How much is this allegiance important? How much is this relationship important? Is it past family? Is it past what you thought you was going to be in the world? Is it past that?
Yeah.
Because that's the elect in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Nothing could confound them.
Hey, is that not the question that's going to be asked at the end?
Yeah.
That's the question that's going to be asked in the trial, in the hour of temptation. That's the question that's going to be asked. How far are you willing to take? How far are you willing to trust me? I got this one precept for you.
Yep.
This is Job 38:3. Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. And here in these latter days, the Lord is going to demand an answer out of us. What are you going to do? A question is, who are you? Who are you? What are you going to do? Are you going to trust in me like your forefathers did, like you did during this time of liberty and grace? Are you going to forsake your training? Are you going to forsake all the little lessons I've been teaching you? Or are you going to hold fast to your integrity and watch me do this?
Because there will come a moment where it's past teaching you about Alexander generals and the history, and it's going to be about the actual performance of faith. Faith in physical is going to be the final test. Everything else is a build-up to that final test, and that final test is ultimately how far is your faith willing to take you. That's the ultimate. That's the fight.
You couldn't say it more perfectly, man. Because that's what we're being built up. The whole reason why we read the scriptures, the whole reason why we apply the scriptures, the whole reason why we read the scriptures, the whole reason why, we rehearse the righteous acts, is for it to be applied in our life, so that eventually it becomes muscle memory. Consider this: the Lord never intended for us to just keep reading and reading and reading and reading and never apply any of it to our lives. For us never to internalize any of it. The reason why the Lord left it for us is because this is supposed to be internalized.
I got one.
You got it.
It's Romans 15:4 in the NLT. Such things were written in the scriptures long ago to teach us. Now, deep thought, right? All of us was in ancient Israel at one point. We all went to the synagogue at one point. We don't remember it. But we all went to those points and we heard them stories. We heard those, we don't like to call it stories, we heard them records of Gideon, of David. And we looked at these men like how niggas look at LeBron. And we was like, man, if I ever got the opportunity to show my faith for the Lord, my family gonna remember me forever on this. We thought about that. Because if you got this truth now, that means the Lord was supping with you at some point for you to even have it now.
Yep.
Because it was niggas in garments that wanted to be niggas.
Yep.
In BC, before we even got to AD.
Yep. Straight up.
They wanted to be niggas, huh?
Yep.
And this is a conversation we have in the heavens that everybody not going to understand, but it's real. We fighting for the bigger. That means that it's lifetimes after lifetimes. The Lord was like, live, die, live, die, live, die, live, live.
Yeah.
And you had to go through that.
Yeah.
We all been chastened as a nation of people, but there's a remnant that understood the whole mission the whole time, which makes it bitter every time.
Yeah. Hey, because it seemed like a losing battle. Because we fought. Like you had righteous men. Because like the scriptures say, there's the spirit returns. The spirit of the prophets is subject to the prophets. So whatever you were in the ancient world, more than likely that's who you are today. If you're a righteous man back in the ancient world, the Lord's going to return that same righteous spirit. And just like your brother said, you had our forefathers fighting, man, and going hard for Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Fighting hard, man. You read the account of Eleazar, the 7 sons. It's like goosebumps. Like it's like our people, they really had a grasp on the bigger picture. They really fought, man. They lived this, man.
And they died for it.
They died for it.
That's because what did it say in Hebrews? If we get that, all their lifetime was subject to the fear of death.
Mm-hmm.
The elect always had that spirit where it was like, even if I had to fall, I'm gonna fall because I know what I'm falling for.
Right. Right. I know what I'm falling for. I got it.
Yeah, let me say real quick, because it reminds, like you were saying earlier, about how far you wanted to go. And it reminded me of Abraham with Isaac. Because
Mm-hmm.
the Lord told Abraham, listen, you're going to have a son, and through him, the covenant, the promises, you know, you're going to be a father of nations. But here it is, when it came down to Abraham having to sacrifice his son, I mean, you know, just speaking as a man, you know, we can only imagine what he was going through, but hey, he trusted the Lord to the point where, hey, he was going to go through the process. He was willing to take his faith, he was willing to go there to the point where the angel had to hold on,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's what, you know, when you mention how, hey, how far you wanted to go for the Lord. Abraham, hey,
Yeah.
you know, one of our greatest examples outside of Yahushua.
Hey, our forefathers strove for the truth until death. Hey, and what the brother said, you know, going into Hebrews the 11th chapter, that's what led to Abraham receiving a good report in the heavens. His faith. That's what led to all our forefathers receiving a good report in the heavens. Their faith, man. How far they were willing to go and how far they did go for our power, man. And even much more in these days, because like the bro said, up until now, it's seemingly been a losing battle. We've been fighting for righteousness, we could have overcome. We'll die, we'll come back again, third, fourth generation, fight for righteousness again, wickedness will overcome. But now we in the latter days where the Lord ain't gonna give the victory to the wicked no more, man. The victory's gonna go to the elect. The victory's gonna go to the righteous, man. It's gonna belong to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua.
I got one. It's Hebrews 11:17. By faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son, of whom it was said, that in Isaac shall thy seed be called, accounting that the Most High was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. So it showed you that Abraham's faith was so far that he believed the Lord could just raise him up from the dead, even if he did sacrifice him. That the Lord was going. That's how. Because when you bring up Abraham, for you to take that kind of journey in the ancient world, that's life or death.
Yeah.
You taking all of your possession and you just walking.
In your father's house?
You ain't catching no Uber. You ain't catching no first class or coach on a plane. It's a foot walk to wherever you going. And if you wrong, that's a lifetime. You got to scratch that off. If you believe that this is your only time on earth, whatever. But he trusted the Lord so much that that's what it was. We come from that lineage.
Right. That same
That's how I inherit that. Like, that ain't like how niggas like grow up. Man, my father was always a Lakers fan. Our fathers was always loyal to Yahweh Shemel Shah, the real ones.
man.
There was always, they stood by that.
Right.
On a level that no other human being on earth stood like that.
Right.
That's we have a standard to live up to. Or die about. And that's what we at right now at the end of this kingdom of the heathens. The bigger picture is most important, man. Because now that's the battery in your back through the spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shah. Because if it was about yourself, you'd have been went to the spirit world. You'd have been told the Lord, just take me now. And the Lord would be like, come home.
Yeah. What can you do with them?
Right. And Jacob done had them moments. Elijah had that moment.
Can you walk me to the stone?
Right.
I'm tired of this.
Right. I'm tired, Grandpa. A lot of brothers done had those moments, but the Lord was like, nah, stay. Let me show you something. Stay. Because you stronger than you think you is. And it ain't just for you. Your strength ain't for yourself. It's and Isaiah bring it out a lot. Being a he-goat. Right now it's lessons. But there's going to come a time where it's going to be physically guidance off of faith. And we fighting for that, man.
Right. We coming into that speedily, man. You know? Hey, you want that Hebrews 2?
Yeah.
This is our Hebrews chapter 2. in verse 14. For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had the power of death, that is the devil, and deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage.
Hey, because you have our people that fear death more than they fear the Heavenly Father. And that's why the Lord say, don't fear the one that can kill the body. Because flesh feel real, bro. It feel real. All this shit feel like it's real and it's permanent. And that's what make faith so important. That's what make faith so precious. Because when the consequences feel real, your trust is even realer. Because now you're willing to fight through all them consequences.
Yeah, that faith allows us to transcend the flesh. Because like the scriptures say, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. You leave it up to your flesh, man, we would have been out of here. Like, we'd have been done.
Hey, because your body, and we go into this a lot. Think about Yahushua, right? He sweated blood. No, everything Yahushua knew, he still sweated blood. And what did he say? The spirit was willing. But because the flesh know what death is. And for the flesh, it's like, this is the end. This is the end all be all. But everything Yahushua knew, he knew about death. He knew what would happen after he died. He knew, but he still sweated blood. And it's like, that's the battle we all deal with every day. But you got to think about the bigger picture in those moments.
And he knew what he had to go through. And it happens, when the Heavenly Father presented it to him, he's like, come on. But like, just to lay back your point, even when he came down to it, he's like, Lord, if there be some other way, Shaw, please. You know?
Let it pass.
Please.
But he had that bigger picture in mind. And that's why the scriptures say the just shall live by faith. Because that's what's going to allow us to prevail and conquer death, Lord willing, really, of the elect, man. Because the flesh, man, that's all the flesh contemplate on. How much this is going to hurt.
Right.
Oh, man, this is going to feel like, what if this happened?
Right.
The flesh, I always think about the what if. You can't, as soon as you wake up, damn, what if? And the Spirit allows us to push past that, to transcend that. You know, and that's why the scripture say in Sirach 14 chapter, put away the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, you know, and put away the weak nature. You know?
Yeah, because what's one of the heaviest thoughts? Death.
Mm-hmm.
You think about the plight of men in general, their biggest thought, their most detrimental thought is death. Especially if they got family, they got something to live for. It's like, what's going to happen to them when I'm gone?
Yep.
And the Lord is like, even with what the Lord did with Abraham and Isaac, Abraham loved Sarah. So for her to have a child from him, he's like, oh, this the one. But he loved the Lord more.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, now we get, now it get real. And only the elect know that part of the battle. Because for 2/3, that's how high the house goes. My wife and my kids, like, I really loved her. Cause I loved her. I loved her. But then you got the one that's like, the Lord get that extra flow. We love the Lord.
Yeah.
And we willing to go somewhere that y'all wouldn't even understand. On a day-to-day, y'all can't even understand what Lord willing to be a part of that number.
That's where you get in, man. I love getting into the characteristics of our forefathers, man. Because we come from a very courageous stock. Because in the world, we're taught, and you don't lose your thoughts on it.
Yeah, you got it.
Go on this tangent. You know, but in the world, we taught that we come from cowards. You know, coons, niggas, just a bunch of weak men. But when you actually get into it and you read about our forefathers, you read about the council, like, what our forefathers did in the name of Yahweh Shai, how valiantly they fought for not only themselves but the nation, for the commonwealth of the nation of Israel. When you read about those things, man, it's like it's a sense of duty that comes behind that.
You gotta live, like you gotta live on that. Like think about that. You grew up in Israel and your uncle fought next to King David. That's gonna make you feel like, man, I can't be no 2/3. I can't get stoned for adultery, y'all. I can't go like that.
Hell
Like this.
Hell no. No, hell no. I can't go like that.
Not like this.
You gotta go on the sword, man, or something.
You think about, man, that's our legacy, that's our culture, bro. Isaiah brought it out, so I'm gonna bring it out. This Romans 8:3. I'm gonna start at 3. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, the Most High sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteous of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace, because it forces you to think past one lifetime. When you're thinking in the flesh, you're thinking here and now. Fuck the consequences. That's your mindset. But when you're walking after the Spirit, you know that the Lord can bring you back.
Right.
With no eyes or one.
Right.
With 2 arms or one or none.
Right.
And you know that, and you know you start to move differently knowing that, hey, come here. You remember what you thought you got away with? Let me get that. So you walk after the Spirit.
Right. You got a precept for you. This is Galatians 6 and verse 8. But he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not.
Now, land back in that, this Romans 8:7, because the carnal mind is enmity against Yahweh Shemel Shai, for it is not subject to the law of the Most High, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Yahweh Shemel Shai, because they continue to think one lifetime at a time. And the law is set up for us to think
Generations ahead.
That's why you gotta love your neighbor as you love yourself. Even if they're not in the right mind, you thinking about what the Lord gonna do to you if you meet them where they at.
Yep.
That's what you gotta.
That's why you have to teach your sons the laws, statutes, and commandments you have about your shop, because you knew eventually later on down the line you come back, through his loins.
Yep. Man, I just slipped my mind.
I got one real quick. Romans 8:9. But ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. If so be that the Spirit of Yahweh Shemel shall dwell in you. Now, if any man have not the Spirit of Hamashiach, he is none of his. And that makes me think about those late nights when it's you and the Spirit of the Lord. And y'all having a deep counsel. And there's nobody in it, even if there's somebody else in the room, it's just y'all in the room. And you having them heart-to-hearts with the Father. Because every brother is like Joe and the Jackson 5 with the Lord. Every brother, the Lord is like, you remember why I did that to you? What about every brother's having that conversation with the Lord? It just play out in our life. It don't play out in no conversation. It play out in judgment. And then you pray to the Lord, you listen to the Lord, and he like, all right, you see what I did, right? You said this. You didn't think I peeped that, huh? But then I did this, right? So how you feel about that? I told you need to work on that. I told you that 6 months ago. But now we here. We all, because we heirs, right? So under Big Bro, the Lord, like Yahweh Shai was having this conversation with the Lord from Adam to now. How much more so the younger brothers?
I got a precept for you. It's Romans 8:26. Likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. Like Brother said, it's like you have those personal combos with the Lord in your spirit. That's like, you know why things are happening. You know why the Lord is taking you through this. You know why the Lord is doing certain things, because He told you when you woke up, look, don't take this route. But you wanted to be hard-headed, so now you stuck, or now you're tire flat. You have those different conversations with the Lord that ultimately the lessons with the Lord that ultimately build us up. You know, it builds us up and it trains us up in the way of our forefathers. You know?
I got one. So this is Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 9. With my soul have I desired thee in the night. Yea, with my spirit within me will I seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. And every brother go through those moments in the night where they desire the Lord, they desire that mercy. They had those conversations with Yahweh Shema shine in the darkness of the light, you know, pleading for mercy. And the Lord is conversating through what? Through judgments, through certain trials and tribulations that we all go through, where the Lord is molding us. But it's ultimately for what? That bigger picture. Because everything the Lord is doing to you personally is going to push out videos and edification, and you showing up at camp, that's going to edify the bigger picture, which is the body, which is the flock, which is the elect. Lord willing, we be a part of that number.
Right.
I got a quick one to land back on what you mentioned earlier about how, like, a lot of our forefathers before us, you know, they fought this battle and it looks like a losing battle, you know, and it reminds me because it's like, why we gotta get translated out of here like Cain, man? You know, because the scriptures talk about how the Lord's speeding the days up on behalf of the elect, because how they're speaking the Lord willing, we're not here another 20, 30, 50, 100 years, man. If that be the case, then we're through, you know.
Translate like Enoch.
Enoch, yeah, Slock. But real quick, I got one in Psalm 73 and verse 2, starting 2, it says, but as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Because like Brother was saying earlier, it looks like they're winning. You know, and to those of us in the faith and know, it appears that we're fighting a losing battle, but we're not. You know, that's where our faith has, more and more kick in every day that the Lord blesses us with, man. More and more, our faith has to, turn up another level, because like we were saying earlier, man, hey, brothers is the scriptures talk about how the Lord has to renew our strength every day, because brothers is tapped out. And if it wasn't for the Spirit of Yahweh Shema being with us, on us, working through us, then man, we're finished.
I got one. It's Hebrews 11 and 12. Hey, because whenever you get to that point, you realize what your forefathers fought for, and the kind of hope they had in a lifetime. They had that hope. It wasn't the last captivity. Like, they had to wear that shit. Like, when the Lord was like, hey, it's not for you to know. As the disciples transitioning into the apostles, it ain't for you to know right now. Why? Because we in 2023, right? If they'd have told them that back then,
man,
that's what I'm saying. So it's like, for us, it's bitter, but it's sweet too. After this shit is over with, we are not gonna know what death is like for them. Like that's we no longer, not only you, but your babies ain't gonna, they're gonna be born, you're gonna look at them and they're gonna be like, man, I ain't gotta work, I could let him go, close my eyes for 300 years and he gonna be all right. In real life.
He gonna come back with stories and all type of things, man.
I'm not gonna have to, like, we fighting for that part of the movie. Jake fighting for, let me get 300,000, I get 300,000, I'm gonna be the nigga in the hood. I'm like, Jake thinking like, bro, and the Lord called us out of that mentality, because Jake was like that. Man, let me just take care of my family. We all have Thanksgiving together as a family. We drink and have a good time. Talk to my uncle. We all thought like that, but it was low level, because we were brought here for correction, not for comfort. So now we fighting. Lord willing, we fighting for that bigger. Imagine seeing Jake in garments, fringes, linen, and they just
good.
everything you see a mortal outside the heathen is like, yeah, he ain't gonna die. He ain't. Yeah.
Tawab.
Yeah, all called to war.
Called Tawab.
That's the bigger picture.
Snap.
Yeah.
Real quick, let me finish this.
It's closer than we think too.
This is Hebrews 11 and 12. It says, therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. These all died in faith, not having received the promises. Man, look, I'm going to read to 11. So Hebrews 11 and 11. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed.
Hey, if I may say this, and when you reading this chapter, it's going through all of our forefathers, who exuded extreme, exemplary levels of faith.
You know what this is? It's like a spiritual will. Like you hear that spiritual,
Right.
like, what y'all, what my pops left me?
Right.
Faith.
Faith. The biggest treasure of it all.
What?
The biggest. Hey, that's why I said we have this treasure in earthen vessels, man. This is a treasure. Like, brothers don't even realize the power that they hold on a daily basis, just through faith alone. Through faith alone, we able to navigate through America, Babylon the Great. We able to please the Lord, man. We able to come back into our heritage once again through the faith of the Lord, man. That's so much power, because the majority of our people and the majority of people in this world are stuck and encased in gross darkness, and they not coming out of that shit. No matter how much you beat them with the scriptures. We had a lady last night. Hell, with probably 50, 11 scriptures, man. She would not come out of that Christianity demon. So having the faith is power, because we've been given power over the God of this world, the principalities of this world, man. It's man. And then on top of that, we know that what? The Lord going to increase the dial as we edge closer and closer to the end. The Lord is going to increase that dial for his elect. And the faith is going to continue to turn up and turn up and turn up and turn up till the elect get those new bodies, man.
Because our people forget very easily that there was a point where our faith translated into physical power. Our faith translated into the sun staying up for 24 hours.
Fire from heaven.
Or one man killing the thousands with a jawbone of an ass. Like, our people forget that part. That's why scripture say in the day of our power, our people shall be willing. Because our people forget that part of it. Right now they think it's just us believing in something that they look at as impossible. But there were moments in our lifetimes, in our records, in our history, where impossible was made possible. And it was through that type of faith. It's Hebrews 11 and 11. It says, through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she was judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky. Because Sarah, her faith, had Isaac.
Yeah, and she laughed at first, yeah.
And out of Isaac
King Jacob. Oh yeah, our forefather. Then came 12 tribes.
And then verse 13 says this, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth.
So what is this? This is a passing of the baton.
Right.
Our forefathers died in the faith. They died not seeing the promises come to pass. We're living seeing these things that they died for coming to pass. It's a passing of the baton. So we have a duty on hand. We have a duty to fulfill, man. First and foremost to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai and our forefathers, man. You know, you got it.
Hey, because that brings a point. I brought this out earlier, that when we deal with the definition of family, it's a servant. It's servants of a household. And this is the etymology of family. It says early 15th century, servants of a household. And you have 2/3 of our people who refuse to be servants, but then you have the remnant that are dedicated to that service.
Right.
And even though they didn't receive the promises in their lifetime, they still hold fast to that duty.
Right. Bro, it's amazing.
I got it. This is Hebrews 11 and 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth.
One more point, you know, that not only our forefathers died not seeing the promises, but that means that we died not seeing the promises as well. Understanding that we were there back during those times too. So that means that we fought and we died not seeing those promises. So now that the Lord has graced us to be here in the latter days again, He's given us this last chance to fight and to win. And to actually overcome this time, man. Because the victory's not going to the wicked this time. The Lord not going, oh, nope, another captivity. This is it.
I got one. So it's Lamentations 5 and 7. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities. So if we borne their iniquities, how much more so their hope?
Right.
How much more so their hope?
Right.
Especially the elect that look, Lord willing to be a part of that number. Everything we done personally and as a nation of people to offend the Lord. We look at it like, okay, let's fight for the bigger picture. And we didn't choose that mindset. The Lord gave us that mindset. Lord, will we be a part of that number as it stands this day?
Yeah, that's a beautiful point. Yeah, just like your grandfather, like some Jake's grandfathers, they work their whole life to buy a plot of land,
Right.
and they burden with it because they can't really start it. They're in their old age, so they leave it to their grandchildren. And they take on that burden, but they carry that hope with them. Okay, I see the bigger picture that grandfather had for this land. He wants us to have a house next to each other so we can have this family land so that we can continue to build. So the children carry on that hope. And the picture just unfolds from that point on until it's complete. And we coming up into that complete picture, you know, we coming to that point.
I got one. So it's Hebrews 11 and 13 in the NLT. All these people died still believing what God had promised them. They did not receive what was promised, but they saw it all from a distance and welcomed it. They agreed that they were foreigners and nomads here on earth. Obviously, people who say such things are looking forward to a country they can call their own. If they had longed for the country they came from, they could have gone back. But they were looking for a better place, a heavenly homeland. That is why Yahweh Shemashah is not ashamed to be called their God. Think, man, for he has prepared a city for them.
It says, when you read it, it said they welcomed it. What was that you just read? You said they welcomed it?
It says, but they saw it all from a distance and welcomed it. They agreed that they were foreigners and nomads here on earth.
They saw it all from a distance and they welcomed it. They welcomed whatever the Lord had for them in that lifetime so that ultimately the bigger picture can be fulfilled, man. And I can't stress it enough, man. We're closer than what we believe, like it says in Romans, the 13th chapter. You know, we're closer than what we believe concerning the bigger picture the Lord has for his people, for his elect, for the world. We're closer than we believe, man. And seeing that we're closer than what we believe, we got to keep the bigger picture at hand. We got to understand, you know, what's going to come to the downfall of society. We have to understand where our hope lies. Because all this is approaching us speedily, you know, and pretty soon, man, it's the Lord going to be cracking those clouds, man.
That's perfect. Yahweh's Judah Israel. This is Hebrews 11 and 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Yahweh Shemashah, so that the things which are seen were not made of the things which do appear.
And as Corn brings out a beautiful point in Hebrews 11 and 1, it says faith is the substance of things hoped for. You know, when you break that word substance down, it goes into understanding. Sub meaning understands things. So faith is the understanding of the things hoped for and the evidence of the things not seen. So you have to understand what we're hoping for. Because the evidence of what we hope for it's not able to be seen physically, but it's all around us, man. Yeah.
And that's what we ultimately fight for, that bigger picture. Understanding that there's nothing that we could do personally outside of Yahweh Shema Shah that's going to get us out of this jam. Because Jeremiah 50th chapter talks about that. Our people have fought for rest. They seek rest in all the wrong places. Mountain and hill, trying to find a resting place. They've forgotten their resting place. Because ultimately the resting place is with Yahweh Shema Shah. And until the Lord turns that table, we're not going to have rest on this side. So you got a lot of our people who are fighting against the tide that is Yahweh Shema Shah's will, man.
I have one more for you.
Yep.
It's Habakkuk chapter 2, starting verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I reprove. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon the table, so that he may run that readeth it. And the vision is speaking about the prophecies. All right, and the vision has been made plain upon these tables, the scriptures. All right, so that we may run to spiritual and mental preparation. It says, for the vision, the prophecy is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And right now we in that appointed time to where the vision is not tarrying anymore. And it's important to hold on and to have that vision. Because like it says in Proverbs, right here in Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 20, verse 18, where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. So without this vision, without the bigger picture, all right, we're going to perish. So it's important for us to continue to have the bigger picture at hand, because the bigger picture is playing itself out as we speak.
Yeah, well, not.
In Hebrews 11 and 23, because you speak about the bigger picture, man. This is the first thing that comes to mind dealing with Moses. Hebrews 11 and 23 says, by faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Hamashiach greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. All right, so at the end of the day, Moses, and to likewise to the hopeful elect, because when it comes to these LeBron Jameses and these Jay-Z's, man, like the brothers were talking about earlier, it's all tainted, it's all polluted. That's that corruptible crown, man. But we're fighting for an incorruptible crown. And what? Again, because you got those what do you call it, the few exceptions to the rule. But at the end of the day, when you look at your people as a whole, we're still suffering. Because I always talk about how 2/3, man. Yeah, 2/3. They're gonna be 2/3. They're gonna die the death, horrible deaths. But it eventually gets to a point where it's just like, man, it gets old. Eventually you get this mindset to where you just want to see your people win at the end of the day. You want to see all Israel make it, not just your grandma and cousins and them. You want to see all your people make it, man.
Right.
And this is what we're fighting for. Lord, one word, that number. This is what we're fighting for, to see all of our people make it. Because I don't even know how to put it, because in the kingdom, all Israel's going to be on a level. Now, there's going to be a different ranking and whatnot, but I put it like this: the least Israelite in the kingdom, man, it's going to make the wealthiest, the richest.
You say the feeble amongst them shall be as King David.
So that's going to make the wealthiest, richest international banker, Rothschild or whatever, look like a welfare case, man. You know?
Hey, going into the bigger picture. This is Wisdom of Solomon 6:24. But the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world, and a wise king is the upholding of the people. Because once the Lord has made right the family of Israel, the family of Yasharallah, the world prospers from that. The world is in disarray right now because of the broken relationship between us and our Father. We live the product of a broken relationship between us and our Father. That relationship is being mended through Yahweh Shai, who is the intercessor. But in the kingdom of heaven, that relationship being reconciled is going to equal up to the welfare of the world, not just our family. Because Esau fighting for the welfare of his family. And really at this point, it's the elites of his family. All the other nations are fighting for the welfare of their family. They're not fighting for the welfare of the world. But when Israel get back on top under Yahweh Shai, it's going to equal up the welfare of the world. Because the same way Jake get passionate about carpentry and all of these different things they into, imagine when Jake's mindset is in righteousness. That's what the Lord's about to turn. He said he's going to give us a new heart. And through that new heart and that family being reconciled back to Yahweh Shai, he being our God and we being his people, the world is going to profit from that. That's the bigger picture we're fighting for. Because a house in the suburbs won't get you that. Contrary to popular belief, you having your name on a magazine or a billboard won't equal that. It's going to take the Heavenly Father turning our tide. You got it, Bob.
And we've seen a glimpse of that with King Solomon. You know, we've seen a glimpse of how, you know, when our nation is on top in righteousness, how that benefits the world around us. You know, the nations flock because of the wisdom of the Lord. You know, they see the benefit of our laws. They see the benefits of the standard that the Lord gave us. And that standard is going to return back into the earth. And that's what's the welfare of the earth. You know, that's what the world needs. You know, these nations need somebody to rule over them because they're servants at the end of the day. You know, the Lord created our nation to rule over these other nations. But right now, the servants are in power. And this is what you get, a world full of chaos. So this world needs the Israelites to be on top. It was a video that came out a couple of years ago, I believe, of a woman over there in Egypt. I think she was over there in Egypt. She said, we need y'all.
No, she was in the land of Israel.
She was in the land of Israel?
Yeah.
Yeah, she said, we need y'all.
She was crying too, right? She was sorry.
Almost.
She almost crying, yeah. She was like, we need y'all. And the earth understands that, slowly but surely the earth is understanding that it's in need of new rulership. Right now they don't know who that rulership is, but through the Spirit we know that rulership is going to come from Yahweh Shai. That's the rulership that the world needs. The rulership of the Israelites. Because through that, the world is going to prosper again, man. The world is going to yield its full fruit again. Right now, the world is in turmoil. It's weakened through the rulership of these, through the rulership of these devils, man. Like the brother said, for the most part, these devils have forsaken the majority of their nation. They only focus on a few. They're not even concerned with the commonwealth of Eden. They threw away that philosophy years ago. They just worried about the commonwealth of the banking families. That's it. The rest of the world can go to hell in their eyes, man. And that's not the proper mindset to have when you deal with rulership. And that's why new rulership is in order, man.
Hold on. So this is off the comment board. This is by Young Yasharallah. It's Isaiah 60:21. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time.
And this is what we're looking forward to. We're looking forward to a small one becoming a great nation. We're looking forward to all of our people being all righteous. Not having to teach our people about the Lord anymore, but that common understanding of who the Lord is and who our power is and what our position is in the earth. That's what we look forward to, man. We look forward to the commonwealth of the nation of Israel. It was a scene that came out from Jackson a year ago, you know, about his paradise. through Esau and Jacob. But to an extent, that's what we look for, man. We look for all of our people to be straight. When you look at our people, what you see is restlessness. What we yearn for is a rest for our people, man. For our people to dwell peaceably under the Lord, with the Lord dwelling in the midst of us, man. So we have that assurance forever and always that we're gonna be all right. Because when the Lord is in the midst of us, when you see the Lord right there, you looking at the Lord like, man, that's the Lord. You gonna know that out of down in your mind, yeah, this is it. We're not going down. That's what we're looking forward to, man. That's what you should be looking forward to,
Any more?
I got one more. This is Sirach 10 verse 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As a judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. What manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein.
And see, our people will lose that understanding. That it don't matter what you do personally. If the judge over your city is wicked, the environment itself is wicked. And your personal situation don't change the overall environment. It's going to take the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shema Shai, to ultimately change the environment before we can actually experience peace. Because even what our people think is peace, these little houses in the suburbs, these little FRNs that they get, it's not peace. It comes with restlessness. So what it's going to actually take is the judge of the city to be righteous, which is Yahweh Shai. And that's what we're waiting on. Once we receive that, then we'll receive the commonwealth. Not just a rich uncle or a rich grandpa, your rich brother, your rich sister, but the entire family, the entire nation of Israel. Gates being open continually, being rich as a nation of people, so we don't have to struggle. A lot of Jake's crimes and their wickedness is tied to struggle. The Lord's going to take that burden from us, because that burden was a punishment unto us. But when you fight for the bigger picture, you understand that nothing that you can do personally is going to change that tide, man. So it's better to fight for the bigger picture through the Spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai.
The last verse. Verse 4, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable.
Hey, so with that, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, while the elders of Yasha'Allah, and the sincere salutations to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwas who are believing this word, in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.
Shalom.
Wa Abba Babal. The water for tuning in, the water for your precepts.
Yes, sir.
Lord willing, to the next time.
Shalom.
Call Allah.